Past 50 years ago, an act of terrorism on the other side of the Atlantic touched the hearts and minds of people across the world, but particularly here in Wales. On the 15th of September 1963, a splinter group of the Ku Klux Klan planted a bomb at the 16th Street Baptist Church in Birmingham, Alabama, killing 4 black girls who were attending Sunday school there. Youngsters in Wales were so moved by the tragedy that they quickly raised the funds to replace the church's stained glass window, made by the late Llansteffan designer John Petts. Well, I caught up with the current 16th Street pastor, Rev Arthur Price Jnr. in Alabama earlier, and he told me more about the tragedy 50 years ago.
This was 18 days after the march on Washington, 18 days after Dr. King said he had a dream, 18 days after he said he wanted his children to be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. The reaction in Birmingham was to blow up a church and to send shockwaves throughout the city and throughout this country.
And why was it that church in particular that was targeted, do you think?
Well, we believe the church was targeted because of the pivotal role it played in May of '63. In May of 1963, Dr. Fred Shuttlesworth asked Dr. Martin Luther King to come to Birmingham to help to segregate the schools and the parks. So they would have sit-ins and they would demonstrate. The church became the headquarters of the mass meetings. They would meet at the church on Monday, and they would get strategy and instructions from Dr. King on what to do. And the children would come to the church. 2,000 or 3,000 children would come. They would send them out 50 at a time. They were met by fire hoses and dogs and billy clubs. And the church was the primary headquarters for the civil rights movement. So we believe that the role that the church played in the May campaign, we think that made the church a primary target.
And what was the reaction at the time to the bombing?
Shock and awe, disbelief, a lot of introspection. Also, shock and awe that you would bomb a church, a sanctuary, a place of God, a place of worship. Shock and awe because 14-year-old kids, 11-year-old kids died on that day. Introspection. People begin to ask themselves the question, what are we really involved in? Did I sign up for murder? Did I sign up for terrorism? What are we doing?
And was this reaction across the board? Was it whites as well as black people who felt this way?
Oh, yeah. Blacks and whites felt shock and awe. There was anger. There was disbelief. There was a rising for action to take place, but the ministers were able to keep the peace. Dr. King was able to keep the peace, and at the time was able to keep the peace by sending down the National Guard. And
here in Wales, when people here heard of the atrocity, it appears it touched the hearts of Welsh youngsters in particular, because it was the young people of Wales that initiated the collection.
Yeah, and that was amazing. To the people here in Birmingham and throughout the U.S., we still get that reaction that this, out as a children's campaign, a children's movement, was reciprocated a token of love by children across the pond, if you would say, of the people of Wales. And I've heard that John Petts wanted to make sure that everybody was able to contribute to this window, and I heard that he would not allow a contribution over $5 during that particular time. And the children of Wales put their money together to get this donation to the church.
That's right. There are stories that black and white children queued alongside each other in the docks areas of Cardiff to hand over whatever they could afford. It was obviously something that they felt very strongly about. I wonder if the people of Birmingham had ever heard of Wales before this.
Well, I'm quite sure they've probably heard of a little bit of Wales. Remember 50 years ago was also, I think, the British invasion of the Beatles. So, they heard of Liverpool, and they may have heard a little bit about Wales during that time as well. But many people obviously have not heard of Wales and are very surprised that the bombing that took place in the southern city in the United States reached over to the people of Wales.
And that's the stunning stained glass window, which is now part of the church, was designed, of course, by the Welsh artist John Petts. Yeah. Just describe the image that's contained in the window.
Well, the image, as the artist depicts it, is a black man in the South suffering like Jesus Christ on the cross, with one hand pushing out hatred, the other hand open for forgiveness. There's bullets going into the chest, and the inscription from the Bible passage, Matthew 25, says, "You do it to me." When Jesus said, "When you do this to the least of these, you've done it to me." A powerful, very powerful statement, and there's a rainbow in the window as well, a myriad of colors that represent the different nations and different nationalities of people. So people, when they look at that window, they look at what we should be and not what we used to be.
took 2 years to raise the money and to create the window and to get it delivered to Birmingham. It's endures because it's still there today, and it's known as the Welsh window, isn't it?
Yes, we affectionately call it our Wales window.
Yeah.
And people love to hear the story and the insight of the artist to paint such a powerful image that was probably very controversial for the South during that time.
Things have obviously changed a great deal, but is there still some way to go, do you believe?
Well, there's always room for improvement. Things have changed a great deal. I mean, when you think 50 years ago, there were certain lunch counters that African Americans couldn't go to. You think of 50 years ago, there were bathrooms that African Americans were designed or assigned to go to. 50 years ago, if you were caught in a certain part of town, you would get beaten. You couldn't go to school together. You couldn't play together. You couldn't swim in the same swimming pool together. So 50 years forward, Birmingham is becoming what America strives to be, a melting pot, a place where all races and religion and creeds are mixed in together. So this community, not just black, but blacks and white, Jews and Gentiles, came together and raised $3 million to make sure that this particular structure would stand so that people could come from all over the world to see what took place here and to see what Birmingham is now becoming. I think Birmingham has had maybe 4 or 5 African-American mayors now. And as you know, the United States of America now has an African-American president. So when you think 50 years ago, when people were so divided by race, and now I believe race still matters, but it matters a little less today than it did 50 years ago.
The Rev Arthur Price Jnr. there, the 16th Street Baptist Church pastor, on the line from Birmingham, Alabama earlier. And I've been looking at pictures of the Wales window online. Do so yourself because it really brings to life the late Llansteffan designer John Pett's thoughts and creativity there. Donations from youngsters all over Wales, of course, made it possible. It really is stunning. Our thanks once again to the Rev Arthur Price Jnr.